Start, though, with Hunter Biden's indictment. Christine Adams is back with us. She's a former federal prosecutor and current attorney here in Los Angeles. Christine, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Charles.
So I'm sure there are people who may be scratching their heads thinking, well, wait a minute, wasn't this the guy, the president's son, who not that long ago seemed to have a deal worked out? Everything was going to be just swell. He was going to pay a price, but not a very huge one. Now he's being indicted and risks potentially, if convicted, perhaps years behind bars. How does that happen?
This is a very unusual case. It's very unusual to have a plea deal between the government and the defense where both parties go into court, the judge asks a few questions, and it turns out there isn't actually agreement on the scope of immunity that's being offered to Hunter Biden. And that's what happened here. They went into that hearing. It was quickly determined that the government was not willing to provide Hunter Biden with immunity as to issues around his foreign business dealings in Ukraine and with Chinese officials. And that was it. The deal fell apart because the defense thought that that was actually part of the deal. So here we are. And what makes it even more interesting and significant is now Hunter Biden faces charges where President Trump could be elected. If former President Trump is elected again, he's made clear he's going to go after Hunter Biden with everything he's got, and he will have the powers of the federal government behind him.
And speaking of which, right now Joe Biden's in office, and I was scouring X, formerly known as Twitter, and I did not see any all caps tweets from President Biden excoriating prosecutors for going after his son, Hunter Biden. So we don't have that. It does appear, the appearance is that President Biden and the White House administration is keeping hands off on this, not even making a statement. President Biden just gave a speech a few minutes ago, not saying a word about this. Are they making the right call?
The Biden administration is in a very unique position, and I do believe they are making the right call because right now they are pursuing criminal charges against both the sitting president's son and the current Republican frontrunner in the next presidential election.
I increasingly am wondering if somebody were sitting in another country, looking at the American justice system right about now, and all that has transpired in the past just few months, I'm wondering what they think about the state of the American justice system right about now, because it seems awfully odd.
It is odd. These things, what I just described with a sitting president's son and with a former president both being charged by the same administration, that's unusual. But there is an argument to be made that the system of justice that we have in this country is even-handed and is not partisan in that way. What else is interesting is the charges themselves. They're very unusual. Hunter Biden has been charged with 2 counts of essentially lying on a form to buy a gun, and then also with 1 count of possessing a gun as a drug addict. Prosecutions like these are extremely rare as standalone charges. These kinds of charges are usually not brought unless there's some other serious crime that's additionally being brought. And they're certainly usually not brought against someone who has no previous criminal history like Hunter Biden and who has actually sought treatment for drug addiction.
So then doesn't that counter what you just said before about perhaps this all shows that we have an even-handed criminal justice system? Because can't you make the argument that the reason why the government is going through this with Hunter Biden is because of the pressure they got from Republicans who were sort of almost daring them to do it, and they caved?
You can make that argument. I obviously don't have visibility into the reasons behind this prosecution decision, but you have a Trump appointee who was U.S. attorney, is now special counsel, bringing these charges. There's been a lot of controversy along the way, and I wish I had been a fly on a wall when they were trying to decide whether or when to bring these charges.
There you go. Thank you. Christine Adams, former federal prosecutor, current attorney in L.A., commenting on this indictment of the president's son, Hunter.